The responses are in from this weekend's recruiting, and it's a verbal equivalent of thumbs up.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. We'll talk about Gametime here in just a little bit. I want to thank you every day for being here every day. Thank you, newbies, for being here today. And thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen every single day. You guys are the best. Jimmy, I don't have my microphone today, so if it sounds a little echoey to people, sorry, I'm on the road. I forgot my microphone. It happens.
Actually sounds pretty good.
Other things that happen.
I think hotel rooms sometimes have excellent, like hotel rooms have good acoustics.
Hotel rooms, they're known for it. Yeah, that's what they're known for.
That's what it's known.
That and bed bugs, the ones I stay in. But okay, so give me the results are in from this weekend's recruiting. It seems like everything went really, really well. Brandon Arrington has been like incredibly active on social media. Now, I'm going to temper all this, right? I need to post something, by the way. I think I sent it to you in a text. Like somebody a friend of mine babyized me and some other friends that do another sports show on Saturday mornings. And it's really great stuff. But, you know, the new trend is like you do everybody like a baby talking and it's still your voice. But anyway, and what I was talking about in that particular instance, the guy I was talking to is a big Auburn guy. And he said, well, you know, I think this guy loves Auburn. I think this guy loves Auburn. But, you know, they're playing wait and see. And I said, you know what? I'm getting sort of tired of all Auburn people saying everybody loves Auburn, but they just can't go because we can't win games. I was like, after the visits, everybody's on a high. I mean, and so I'm tamping down my feelings about Brandon Arrington's activities on social media and how elated he seemed about his visit at Alabama, because I know he was on a visit high. That said, in my mind, the odds of Brandon Arrington ending up at Bama have gone from practically nil to there's a chance. It's just not great.
Yeah, visit highs are a real thing, and that happens with virtually every player. Not 100%, but virtually every player comes back from a visit, telling interviewers that they loved it, that they had a great time, that they can picture themselves playing there, that they're excited about that opportunity, and it just makes all the sense in the world. I think everybody listening to the show realizes that we're all Alabama fans, but had we gone somewhere else to school and had a different school experience, it probably would have gone really well. I mean, it's not like it's just one place for everyone. As a matter of fact, so many of these kids play in multiple places in their college career. But I wouldn't read too much, just as a general rule, I wouldn't read too much into comments in a player interview right when they return from a campus, because that's the visit high. Give it a couple of days and see what happens then. As for Brandon Arrington, I think Alabama's been a very realistic landing spot for him from the start. I think it's very realistic. I'm not sure I would bet that it's going to happen, and I'm using geography as my main thing. That's my main thing. When you say, well, other kids from California have, sure. Many have, most don't. Many have, the ones we can name, the ones that sign with Alabama, they have more players from California recruited by Alabama and up too far. So geography would be my main reason in saying it's not going to happen, but it might happen. And frankly, out west, and boy, there's a whole nother subject we haven't talked about. We need to soon, about how the transition from DeBoer recruiting out west to recruiting in the more population centers in the South has changed a few things for him, I understand. But when you recruit out west, everywhere's a trip. Brandon Arrington's from California. You might go to Oregon. That's a heck of a drive. It's a heck of a drive. Yeah. Probably takes longer to drive to Oregon than it does to fly to Tuscaloosa. I mean, so everything out west is a flight or a heck of a trip. So that's why, it can happen. And with NIL money and rev share money coming, his family will be able to get to Tuscaloosa every weekend to watch him play. So Hey, it's possible. It's realistic. I'm not here saying no, don't get your hopes up. Not going to happen. Zero chance. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying in that there he is with his fellow Bama DBs and little brother and Coach Mo. It could happen.
How cool the little brother looks.
Might not be the last. He's looking so cool. It might not be the last time we see him in an Alabama recruiting photo.
All right, who is that on? As you're looking at the picture, it'd be far left.
Is that Zabian?
It could be.
No,
okay.
no. I'm sorry. That was Damani Jackson.
Okay.
Now, it's Damani. I didn't get a good look at that.
What is this like? Everybody does this now, where they put their finger under.
I'm too lame to know.
I'm scared to know.
I'm too lame to know.
I'm afraid to know.
Cool.
I'm afraid it means something that I can't repeat. Is what I'm afraid of.
If I was cool, I would know, but I'm not cool, so I don't know.
All right. So, but yeah, the whole thing about the distance, I get it. But you're right. Damani Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa, Najee Harris,
half the DBs on the current team.
Xavier, Prince. What was Prince's last name?
Prince Hall.
Prince Hall.
Well, that was a while back. I was in the old.
That was a while back. That's
Jonah Williams. Jonah Williams is from California.
Jonah Williams. What I would do?
Jackson Lloyd.
Let me tell you. I don't think it's as crazy as you think, though, because I did have this thought. Like, I think everybody romanticizes California in the sense of like, it still is sort of the gold rush state where you go and your dreams come true, and Hollywood and the whole thing. Now, there also, if you watch the news, there's several other things going on in California that aren't great. But that's why I think that if you were in California and a superstar, and you're like, okay, I could go to USC, Oregon, Arizona State, whatever, and be sort of a place I know, or I could go to the South in Alabama and one of the biggest brands in the sport, if not the biggest brand, and I would probably be one of the cooler guys on campus just because, again, everybody sort of, when you're from California, people automatically assume you're kind of interesting. Like there's something going on cool with you.
That's kind of true.
And the thing about the South, everybody's kind of one another for the most part. I mean, like we're all friendly. We're all like, how's your mama and them? Like in California, nobody cares about your mama and them. That's what I would do. Come to Alabama and we can find out about your mama and them.
Some of it's fewer people, but I think when you meet someone from California, we have a tendency to go, you're from California. Do you know Tom Hanks? And then they probably don't. But then if they ask, oh, you're from Alabama. You know that guy Bob that lives over in Daleville? Like, yeah, I know Bob. I know Bob in Daleville. You talking about Bob in Daleville? Yeah, I know Bob. It's a better chance I know Bob from Daleville than a random person in California knows Tom Hanks.
That is very true. All right, we're going to talk some more about these visits because there was an interesting visitor that I don't think anybody knew was coming. It actually wasn't even an official visit, and it was a quarterback, and that makes it even more interesting and more dramatic. And if you like drama, you're going to love Game Time. Game Time is the best. Game Time. It's the best. You'll love it forever. Go try it out. Use code LOCKEDONCollege. You'll get $20 off that first purchase. But most of the people I'm talking to right now, they have already used it. They don't need that $20 off. If you're one of the newbies that's just tuned in, trust me on this. Trust me. Trust Jimmy too when I put him back on the screen that Game Time is where it's at. You will want to use Game Time. You can see where you're going to be sitting. I can't tell you how cool that is. They have the best customer service. Now, that is a Luke Robinson guarantee. And the reason I can guarantee it, I've used a lot of ticket services in my life. Game Time's the best. I wasn't ever using them before they became a sponsor. Not then when they became a sponsor, I was like, I'm going to use Game Time, support the home team. And I thought I was just sort of throwing them a bone. Turns out all the bone throwing was towards me. Got to find a better way to say that. But Game Time is the absolute best. I'm telling you, I loved it. I've not used another ticket service since I used Game Time to go watch the Miami Dolphins take on the Carolina Panthers like 2 years ago in Miami. And since then, I've used it for baseball, both pro and college, used it for college and pro football, college and pro basketball, used it for concerts, used it for comedy shows and whatever. You will love it. Go to Game Time, download that app, and I promise you, you will love it. Go get Gametime because it is a game changer. So, how about a new quarterback on the radar, Jimmy? And what
Yet
was
again.
what was super interesting? Okay, yeah, again, another new quarterback, not the new quarterback we were talking about yesterday. It was new. This one's new,
Even
by
newer
today's standards. So, this guy, like, I saw on Twitter, this Bryson Beavers, right? That's his name.
Bryson Beaver. Yep.
Yeah. So Bryson Beavers, I saw on Twitter just because I follow a lot of recruiting dudes that Bryson Beavers decommits from Boise State and he's going to take a visit to Oregon. And I was like, well, that's interesting because Oregon I think was in on Matt Panatowski to a degree. They were in on some other players. I was like, I wonder where the dominoes fall on this. Little did I know at that time that Bryson Beavers was actually going to be heading down to T-Town to check out the University of Alabama. And we've offered him. Okay, so what does this mean? First of all, he is a 4-star. He's not a nobody. He's blowing up. If Oregon wants you to visit, if Bama wants you to visit, and frankly, if you were committed to Boise State, they've done some good quarterbacks. Look, I'm all for it. But that being said, I would like to know a little more before I get ahead of myself.
Yeah, throw in Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, who's obviously outstanding with quarterbacks. As a matter of fact, Bryson drove to Tuscaloosa from Oxford from a visit he was making at Ole Miss. So he's blown up for a kid who's formerly, committed to Boise. It's funny. Me and Luke talked about this about a month or two ago. It's kind of hilarious that On3's quarterback rankings, the On3, not the industry, the On3 itself, their QB rankings are look different than everyone else's right now. They're wildly different. But you know who seems to like On3's recruiting rankings is Alabama. All these kids that Alabama finds and likes happen to be ranked pretty good by On3 and sort of ignored by the other services. I mean, Tamala was like a top 10 quarterback when Alabama found him and offered him per On3. Even Panatowski's much higher on On3 than he is the other services. And now here we have Bryson Beaver, who's way higher on 3 than he is anywhere else. So Charles Power and his staff seem to be, I hate using this word, simpatico with the way Alabama views quarterbacks under Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, and Nick Sheridan. They just kind of seem to be on the same page in terms of who's good. And hey, On3's right a lot. I give Charles and his staff a lot of credit. They're very good at this. Obviously, DeBoer and them are good. Now, what does it mean that Alabama basically has 4 offers out to 26 guys? They got Jet Tamala, you got Panatowski, the baseball player, you got the kid in Utah that's from Hawaii, you got Bryson Beaver from California who was here on Saturday. I think you have to guess a little bit because you're not going to get quotes or even inside scoop of something of that significance in terms of why there's 4. There's a couple of guess. I hear a common guess. They may want to sign 2. That's possible because I wouldn't say these guys are overly expensive. Right now in this new world, people, we have to look at the money when you're talking about bringing in a kid. I mean, that's a factor that you're talking about, especially at quarterback. I think maybe they want to sign 2. These guys aren't particularly expensive. That is possible. I think more likely it's this, Luke. I think early returns from Tamala may not be great in terms of he's been back from Iowa State. He ain't decommitted from Iowa State yet. He might, but he hadn't yet. The problem with Panatowski, as we understand it, is what if he's your guy all of a sudden, like, okay, we want him, he wants us, and that's our guy, and then the year rolls around and he's off playing pro baseball and he never shows up. So I think with Panatowski, he's got to be much better than the others to jump on board because you could lose him to baseball. So now you got these 2 other guys who seem more I hate to use this word realistic, but they seem a little more realistic. They don't play baseball. They're not already committed to another Power 4 program. A little more realistic maybe, but at the same time, clearly good. Bryson Beaver has great film. As a matter of fact, when Luke says blowing up, how about this for blowing up? He's one of only about 10 or 12 quarterbacks in the nation that have made it to the Elite 11 final with an invitation from the Elite 11 people. So it ain't just Alabama that sees this kid as, hey, this kid might be special here. Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss and Oregon. You're talking about staffs that are really good at evaluating quarterbacks. So I do think Bryson Beaver's one to take extremely seriously, and a kid very likely to move way up in the rankings. Almost all the Elite 11 quarterbacks do. So it's not just a Bama bump. Let's call it, in this case, an Elite 11 bump.
Okay, Elite 11 bump. I'm down with that. And I just changed the stuff on the side for those who know. I had my stuff from yesterday up there. I'm sorry about that. It just dawned on me, but that's okay.
Heck, I wouldn't.
It kind of fits with what we're doing. And we're going to get to the roster countdown here in the next segment. But Jimmy and I thought about something. We'll continue to talk recruiting. This weekend coming up is woo. It's a big weekend. And first of all, I did want to throw this out there. So Darian Morgan went to Auburn this weekend, and I gotta give you this quote from him. As soon as I can find it. Okay, this is from an article from the Auburn 3 site at Auburn by Jeffrey Lee, and he said, "So where does Auburn stand heading into his final official visit, which of course is to Alabama?" And so Darian Morgan says, "I mean, they're not at the bottom." Not exactly the rousing vote of confidence, but again, look, Auburn's going to be a threat. I can make a joke.
Maybe they're not all on visit. Maybe they're not all on visit highs.
Yeah, maybe. But Auburn's going to be a threat for C.D. Morgan. I mean, it's too close to it. Not too. But I do feel better and better about Alabama. I'll tell you somebody else that's beginning to scare me more than Auburn, and that's Florida. Florida is doing some work on the recruiting trail right now. It should be noted they got the Daniels kid from Alabama, who a lot of people thought would end up at Auburn. He's another wide receiver, and he committed to Florida this weekend. They got some dudes in that class.
They do, and I think Billy Napier and his staff have always been pretty good recruiters. They were just had that hot seat problem. Now they still have a hot seat problem to a degree, but now that you've just turned down – and see, this is a thing – gosh knows, I hope we never have to talk about this with Alabama and DeBoer and stuff, but it's just kind of one of my soapbox things, and I kept fans don't understand this. When the coach is on the fan hot seat, good luck recruiting. Good luck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very difficult to recruit when the fan base is giving up on the coach. There's no momentum out there. And now we're seeing Billy Napier sort of coached himself off the hot seat at the end of last season. Now look what he's doing on the trail. This is like a good look at Billy Napier not on the hot seat. Now watch him go, 1-5.
Well, because he's got another difficult schedule.
The schedule is just insane. But he's not on the hot seat now. And lo and behold, recruiting at Florida has radically improved. But just understand that when all the talk is about replacing the coach, recruiting well becomes extraordinarily difficult.
This is going to have to be a quick segment, and we probably should have done it on Father's Day. I guess technically we are doing it on Father's Day, but it's the day after Father's Day when you're watching it. Best father-son duos at Bama. And, I mean, the one that immediately comes to mind, of course, I mean, the newest one that comes to mind is the Kirkpatricks. Mm-hmm. But I think the Humphreys have got to be up there. The Castiles have certainly got to be up there. Give me some other examples, Jimmy.
Well, the Neighbors family. I mean, if you want to go Bryant school, I think the Neighbors family, Billy Neighbors being an Alabama all-time great, and Wes Neighbors was an all-conference center at Alabama and a really good player at Alabama, no doubt. And then even other Neighbors kids. I mean, we're into grandkids that have played at Alabama. So that comes to mind for me. I want to talk more about favorites, and I think it's so easy to say Bobby and Marlon Humphrey because of their greatness, their true greatness. But, I want to give a special shout out to the Castiles, who still remain very prominent in Alabama history, not just Alabama history, but the present, because Jeremiah Castile is still a visible presence as one of the spiritual leaders of the football program. So he's still there helping Alabama's kids in that incredibly important way. And he had two sons that were fantastic players at Alabama. Tim Castile, I think people forget how good he was. Sometimes when the team isn't great, it's easy to not to know where to rank those players in history because the team wasn't great. But Tim Castile was a very good fullback at Alabama, even played in the NFL for a while. And this, despite some injuries, I don't think, unfortunately, Alabama ever got the Tim Castile that it looked like he was in high school because he got hurt and just sort of played hurt in his time at Alabama, and same in the NFL. But boy, when he was in high school at one point, it looked like he was on his way to being an all-timer. And Simeon Castile, who played during the Shula era on some pretty bad teams, Simeon wasn't bad. As a matter of fact, Simeon was really good. He was a playmaker. He was flashy. I've said this about a number of kids. I wish he was just a little younger, because I would have liked to have seen Simeon Castile play for Nick Saban. Get that corner. I think he would have been, an even better player playing for the greatest DB guru of all time. But just this Father's Day weekend just passing, just a special shout out to the father-son duos, and one of them's going to make our roster ranking countdown.
It is kind of sad when I think Tim Castile, and I know he was a good player. I know he was, and I loved his being at Alabama. But the one thing I think about is like him being run right in the middle of the line on several fourth down instances, notably against Tennessee, if I remember right, in 2006, I believe, and he gets stuffed because Shula just had this, 4th and 1. Guess what we're going to do? Run it right up the middle, and we just didn't have the horses.
No, the best offensive lineman was 18 years old. The center was pretty good, and that was, Antoine Caldwell. But that was just sort of it in terms of next level stuff. I mean, it's just such a different era of Alabama football. And kind of ironic, the weekend that Trent Seaborn has been a lot of the talk at Alabama, because Trent Seaborn won a state championship as an 8th grade starting quarterback, which is amazing. Tim Castile in the 8th grade was first team All-State.
That's right.
Like 5A football. First team All-State in the 8th grade. That was what the Tim, and by the way, played a lot of receiver. How about that? A receiver in high school at that age grew really into a fullback. And I think some of that was due to injury, where he sort of had to bulk up and play a position that didn't require as much speed and cutting because of the injuries. But he was still a great player, and Simeon was great too. And we got another father-son duo to talk about on the roster ranking that we'll get to here in the final segment.
And one other thing I was going to say is, when I remember Simeon, I remember him sort of swimming after that fumble. Wasn't it him that was swimming after that fumble against Tennessee? Was that him? No, that wasn't him. That was who was that? Oh, it just dawned on me. It might have been
Simeon.
Was it Simeon? Okay.
Simeon had something to do with a couple of different interceptions against Tennessee that I
no, it wasn't an interception. It was a fumble.
Okay.
But anyway, my point was, I don't remember for any like good plays, but I know both of them were really good players. You know what I mean? Like everybody's got a signature play. Like when I think Derrick Henry, the first thing I think of is him stiff arming what's his name from Michigan State into oblivion. And that wasn't even his best play. That's just what I remember, because I was like, yeah, that was unbelievable. So, all right. Jimmy, we're going to get back into your roster countdown, and it's 2 pretty interesting ones. So let's do it. Let's get in that roster ranking countdown one more time. And on the father-son duo, theme, we got a father-son duo.
Yeah, Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., 47, pretty high up here for a guy that he didn't redshirt, actually played quite a bit last year on special teams. So one of the reasons he's ranked where he is, he was good on special teams, and I suspect he'll be one of Alabama's best special teams players. That's partly why he's here. And secondly, why he's here, he had a great spring. I mean, he had a push the starter type spring, even though he's clearly a second team guy at the Husky position. I love this position for him. I think when Alabama first signed Drake Kirkpatrick Jr., he was not highly regarded, wasn't highly ranked. Some people thought Alabama only took him because of his dad and stuff like that. But no, me and Luke were really high on him. I even said which was a crazy thing to say at the time, but I said, based on nothing but his senior year tape, he is a top 100 player nationally. And that's pretty nuts, because I think early on in his senior year, if you looked at rankings, he would have been in the 300s, 400s, 500s, or even lower. There was points in his high school career when it looked like he might end up at a UAB and not anywhere near the SEC. But his senior year, he had this senior year blow up, just looked like a different kid. And he's been very impressive in his time at Alabama. I think he's the second team Husky this fall. I think we see a lot of him. I think we see a ton of him on special teams. And it's not going to shock me if he plays significant snaps. Last year, the second team Husky was sort of Red Morgan for a big chunk of the season. Remember how much we saw red? I think we could see Dre as much as we saw red a year ago. I mean, so that's significant snaps. Might even have him a little bit too low here at 47, but I always notice I'm saying I might have this guy a little bit too low. That means I have somebody a little too high, and I'm not sure who that is. And as we get deeper into the countdown, you'll see what I'm talking about. But number 46 on the roster, that's going to create some talk. I have Keelan Russell here, and gosh, this is one I could be missing by a country mile or more. But I have him at 46 because the roster ranking is predictive. It's about who will be the best players on the team this fall. My prediction, which could prove wrong because, I've been wrong before. I'll be wrong again. My prediction this fall, Luke, is that Ty Simpson's a starting quarterback, and Ty performs so well, he's the starting quarterback all season long. And Keelan only plays in what amounts to a backup role. Now, I do think that Keelan Russell may or probably will beat out Austin Mack by midseason for that QB2 role. And QB2 plays some, and I think we will see Keelan. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure he'll redshirt. We might see him beyond 4 games. And none of this is a poor reflection on Keelan. I think Keelan Russell is going to be a superstar. I compare him to Bryce Young and Tua Tagovailoa, not skill set per skill set, but in terms of how good a quarterback Keelan could prove to be. But Bryce didn't start as a freshman. He backed up Mac Jones. Tua didn't start as a freshman. He backed up Jalen Hurts. I don't think Keelan starts as a freshman either. I think he's the backup to Ty Simpson this year. Therefore, I have him down here at 46. If this was a ranking of who are the most gifted kids on the team, heck, he might even be top 10. But that's not what this ranking is about. It's about who are the best players on the team this fall. I have so much confidence in Ty Simpson. I have Keelan down here at 46.
Yeah, I think that's what people need to remember. It's not like a ranking of who do I think is going to have the best career at Alabama. It's what do you rank right now? And during the week, if we wanted to go this route, we won't because there's so much information during the football season. If we wanted to, we could change this, practically daily because, I mean, there will be a lot of shuffling. And I think, after about 3 games, this list may look dramatically different. But I wanted to kill you for this. I wanted to kill you for Keelan Russell. I did. And the more I thought about it, the more I was like, I think he's right. This is where he is right now. Of all the people you've mentioned, he has the potential to go from where he is to number 1. I'm not sure anybody else you've mentioned on your list could shoot up the chart to number 1. Yeah. Only Keelan Russell so far.
If he, quote, beats out Ty and becomes a thing as a true freshman quarterback, not just in the SEC, but nationally, then obviously I have him grossly underranked. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you right now that that's not going to happen because I think he's got that sort of ability in the same way Bryce and Tua, had they been starting quarterbacks as true freshmen, they probably would have had a lot of wow moments, right? Just wasn't best for the team at that time. But as we saw with Tua, especially as the season progressed, frankly, by the very end, he became the most effective quarterback on the team. Might not have been the case in August, September. Keelan could do something similar, and I'm not going to say it won't happen. I'll just say, hey, this is kind of a prediction show in this sense. And my prediction is that Ty does really well and is never replaced as a starting quarterback outside of like an injury or something. I think Ty's going to be really good. Do I think he's going to be awesome or top 15 pick or go pro? I'm not getting into any of that. I just say Ty's going to be so good that talk of replacing him as the starter. Now it's going to happen because the most popular player on the team. So this is the one we haven't seen. But in terms of real talk, I don't think there'll be real talk from the coaching staff about replacing Ty at any point. That's my prediction.
Yeah, you know what? If Ty Simpson, if we don't score a touchdown in the first 2 drives against Florida State, the immediate rumblings for Keelan Russell will be deafening.
There will always be some level of buzz about it. If Ty is 17 of 20, someone somewhere will be like 3 incompletions. That would never happen to Keelan. Keelan won't throw 3 incompletions. So
Keelan would have been 22 of 20.
I don't know that Ty can do anything at all to appease that crowd. And it's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. I've been around Alabama football long enough to know that's going to happen. Now, what you don't What you hope doesn't happen is Ty performs poorly, and you get to where you have to make a decision. Do we go ahead and turn it over to the true freshman who's probably not ready? Bo Nix being a good example is because I've often comped Ty to Bo. Bo was pretty rough that true freshman season. He showed flashes of what he would ultimately become, but it was a bumpy ride. And look how good Bo is as the 12th pick in the draft, AFC Rookie of the Year worthy. That's how good he became. I think Ty is sort of on a Bo type track. They just have wildly different careers where Ty's not playing until he's ready to play. Bo, because of his situation at Auburn, had to play too soon, and I think it nearly wrecked him.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll Tide.